You're live.
All right. Welcome everybody to House Energy and Digital Infrastructure. It is Wednesday, the 17th of March. I'm Representative Kathleen James from Manchester.
Richard Bailey, Lamoille 2. Chris Morrow, Wyndham, Windsor, Bennington. Michael Southworth, Caledonia 2.
Christopher Howland, Wyndham 4.
Dara Torrey, Washington 2.
Sam Kleppner, Chittenden 13, Burlington.
Laura Sibilia, Wyndham 2.
Great. I just briefly wanted to, let's put our heads together on our bills real quick. So data centers is in Ways and Means, and we think that's going to be voted out tomorrow. So that would be voted Wednesday, notice Thursday, floor Friday, Tuesday.
If that's what happens, yes.
If that's what happens, yes. Okay, so that's data centers. Then our miscellaneous PUC bill, Approps heard that this morning and is going to vote it out today. So that is noticed tomorrow, floor Thursday, Friday. I'm the floor reporter on that one. H740, the greenhouse gas. I already went and kind of discussed it with the Approps. They're going to vote it out Thursday or Friday. So that will definitely be floor next week. And 718 residential energy code is
it's not on the schedule yet for appropriations. I don't know exactly.
So that's probably also Thursday or Friday probes floor next week. So we've got data centers this week, miscellaneous PUC this week, data centers and residential energy code next week. Okay. Meanwhile, crossover happened. So we are taking up new bills. So we are here to walk through S202. That is the portable solar bill. And just to remind folks, I had a companion bill, I had an H bill that we've left in the dust, and we are taking up S202. We've got a bunch of testimony scheduled this week. We'll take more testimony next week. And Ellen's here to walk us through.
Ellen Tchaikovsky, Office of Legislative Counsel. So I'm here today on S202 as passed by the Senate. An act relating to portable solar energy generation devices. This, so a little bit of context. 30 VSA section 248 is the Public Utility Commission's permitting process for electric generation facilities. So if someone wants to construct an energy generation facility, they likely need a permit from the PUC. However, or then when they go to connect to the grid after it's constructed, they would need an interconnection agreement with the local utility. This includes net metering systems, which are the smaller systems. However, homes that are off the grid that may have facilities that are not connecting to the wires owned by the power companies, they don't need to go through that process. And so what you have in this bill is a kind of a hybrid system and what to do with these new types of technologies. So portable solar energy devices are smaller solar generation devices. And this bill is setting up that they will be exempt from the 248 process, even though they probably wouldn't trigger it. They may or may not trigger it, but depending if this is being very clear, they will not trigger that process, and they cannot be used in combination with the net metering process, and they will not need an interconnection agreement from the utilities. It's going to create some other regulation for them anyways, because this is a different type of system. This is new technology, and it is slightly a gray area right now how they are to be regulated.
So this exempts them from the 248 CPG process and the interconnection agreement.
Yep.
Because it's not clear right now.
Yeah, they likely, well, depending on how they're configured, they might trigger either of those things currently, or they might not. And so this is trying to be clear.
Okay.
So the first section defines what these things are. So it's adding to the definitions section in 201, which is the chapter where section 248 is. Portable solar energy generation device means a movable photovoltaic generation device that is designed to be connected to a building's electrical system via an electrical cord plugged into a receptacle. So that's the wall outlet.
Thank you.
I had to learn what a receptacle is.
You plug it into a flower vase if you want it.
Yes, I didn't know we needed to say receptacle, but everyone says we might as well just be very clear. They are plugged into a wall receptacle usually. Includes a feature that prevents the system from energizing the building's electrical grid during a power outage.
What is that?
Well, it may be a ground fault circuit interrupter.
I like you guys.
Oh, I forgot to give the preface that I am not an electrical engineer and that we're about to hit the limit of my understanding of these terms.
It may require a voltage from the source, from a source to provide both frequency and
Depends on the ohms too.
pardon.
No.
So there are different types of
We'll get into that.
mechanisms that are safety features on appliances. And so this is requiring that, as you will see, because these things are going to be connected to a home and therefore also the electric grid, it should have this safety feature that when there's a power outage, it disconnects and interrupts so that it is not continuing to use power and could shock someone attempting to fix the system.
Doesn't backfeed it,
Doesn't backfeed into the grid when there's a power outage.
which is important.
Yes.
And it's, I mean, those safety features work for both power outages when workers expect all the lines to be dead,
Yes.
but also if you shut off the breaker to a particular room to work on the electric, even if it's not an outage, if it's an intentional shut off.
Yeah.
They work under that safety. The fail-safe works under that as well.
Yes. So it is requiring those for these different devices, because there are different kinds of devices, for them to have one of those safety features. And that is somewhat related to the next subdivision. It also needs to comply with UL 3700, which is a regulation for plug-in photovoltaic systems by UL Solutions, or an equivalent certification by an equivalent nationally recognized testing laboratory for use in the United States. So if you look at if we looked at the coffee pot on there, probably on the cord, it probably says approved by UL Solutions. They are the national laboratory that approves for safety electrical devices. UL 37 recently came out, and that is specific to these plug-in photovoltaic systems that we're using here.
We're hearing from them tomorrow, actually. UL.
This safety thing that we got in our packet is actually quite good. With people want to read up on the UL stuff that's in our packets.
All right. Oh, I see.
It explains all that stuff.
Great. Yeah, and Bright Saber's coming in at later today. Was this all the Bright Saber testimony? I think it was.
Just here, I don't know where.
Bright Saber submitted a bunch of written testimony, and I had asked, Alex is sick today, I'd asked to have it all printed out. So my guess is that this is all the Bright Saber packet.
Great.
And then the last element of the definition on line 17, and is connected to a building that is connected to the electric grid. If you're not connecting to the electric grid, this won't apply to you. These devices can be used out in the wild, like camping. or something.
Or if you're off,
So so this definition is specific to, yes, or off grid, but a building that is connected to the electric grid.
Okay.
All right, so section 2 is then creating a statute specific to this section, 30 VSA section 256, portable solar energy generation devices. A customer may install one or more portable solar energy generation device per electric meter if the devices have a maximum combined capacity on the page 2 of not more than 1,200 watts. Portable solar energy generation devices shall only be connected to systems using smart meters.
no,
You will hear testimony about this. So right now, under the UL Solutions 3700, I believe they have only endorsed systems up to 391 watts. So you could potentially have up to 4 of those. But most of the time when I'm in here, we're talking about kilowatts. So watts, we're talking about 1.2 kilowatts. So significantly smaller than most of the systems we discuss in here. You can hear more about that. That's like a laptop or, it could power smaller devices. And the reasoning related to the smart meters is because these systems are able to backfeed into the grid. And so I'll talk more about this as we go, but these, they have different configurations, but these devices are small sets of solar panels that may or may not have a battery on them, but are also connected to the home's electric grid. And so it could feed directly into any of your appliances, but if you're not using the energy, it also could backfeed into the grid. So use of a smart meter is what they have recommended.
So it can backfeed into the grid. That's interesting.
You will not be compensated for it. This is excluded from net metering. We will not be paid for that. Yes. Yes. So there's still more to this. So on page 2, line 3, the installation of a portable solar energy generation device that complies with subsection A shall not be required to comply with the requirements of 248 or be required to obtain an interconnection agreement with the electric distribution company. So that is basically permission from the utility to install one. Subsection C, an electric distribution company shall not require a customer using a portable solar energy generation device that complies with subsection A to obtain the company's approval before installing or using the device, pay any fee or charge related to the device, or install any additional controls or equipment beyond what's integrated into the device. A customer with a net metering system shall not also install a portable solar energy generation device. A portable solar energy generation device shall not be eligible for net metering. Excess generation fed back into the grid by a portable solar energy generation device shall not be compensated by an electric distribution company. So yes, these systems are designed and are capable to, some of them are to feed back into the grid. It is not a large amount of electricity, but it is possible that there will be some, and that is not eligible to be compensated as part of net metering or another agreement. And then subdivision E at the bottom of page 2 into 3. A portable solar energy generation device in a public building, as defined in 20 VSA 2730, shall be used in a manner that complies with all applicable requirements of the most recent fire and building safety code adopted by the Division of Fire Safety. So an example is if you're using this in a public building, like an apartment building, you cannot put a panel, you cannot block an ingress or egress. So you got to make sure that they're not blocking the door. And then also these often have an extension cord. You got to make sure that the cords are secure and not creating a fire hazard, safety hazard. So there are two other sections. So those are the Title 30 provisions.
Sorry, can we go back?
Yeah.
All the way. Now I'm on page 2, line 14.
Mm-hmm.
You said this and I glossed over it in my mind. So if you have a net metering system, in other words, if I have rooftop solar that does net metering, I can't have one of these.
Correct.
Okay.
If you want to use it in your camper and not,
Right.
you can. But
Because
you,
it would screw up the accounting for my rooftop
Yes.
solar. They would know what the little plug-in is contributing.
correct.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So then there are two other provisions related to this that are not part of Title 30. So on page 3, first is amending 24 VSA 4413G. So this is municipal bylaw statute. And this is the limitations on municipal bylaws. So there's this existing provision in 4413 about energy, what do we call them? Energy collectors. So a bylaw adopted under this chapter shall not regulate the installation, operation, and maintenance of a portable solar energy generation device, or on a flat roof or a flat roof of an otherwise complying structure of a solar energy device that heats water or space or generates electricity. So there's this existing provision that municipal zoning can't regulate solar energy devices on flat roofs. And so we're extending that exemption also to portable solar devices. So they cannot have the, further down it goes on to say, they cannot prohibit or have the effect of prohibiting the installation of solar collectors not exempted from regulation, clotheslines or other energy devices based on renewable sources. So there's already this existing provision that some renewable energy devices are exempt from municipal bylaws. This is adding portable solar as well.
I'm puzzled why the flat roof. But that's existing.
That's an existing
law.
statute. Yeah.
Does anybody know anything about that?
I mean, because I think part of the theory is what is the municipality's business with on a flat roof? Why would they be allowed to regulate solar panels on a flat roof?
Or any other roof?
Well, this provision is at least specific there for a flat roof.
I don't know if I get something about this. Well, Betty.
Well, perhaps you could ask him later.
I would think for one thing, for overload, if you continue to add more gravel to a roof, you've got to pay attention to what the roof was originally.
Talking about structural.
Yeah, no, structural, right, as, believe me,
But towns, this is saying towns can't do anything about that.
they can't, but
Yeah.
that was my comment when you asked why they would. My question is, the town can't prohibit it, but what about the subdivision? When it said clotheslines, I once looked at a house in a subdivision.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that next.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, all right, I'm sorry.
Yep. So yes, the next section is about deed restrictions. So other places.
Can you know anything about flat roofs in this thing?
No.
municipal bylaw requirements.
For the record, Ben Edgerly Welch, Beef Bird. No, I was just looking up the provision of law to refresh my memory on it.
Okay.
But of
We'll have time to explore. I just wanted to be next.
course,
Well, so this section in 24, Title 24 is somewhat related to the next section too, because there was a push before my time to create protections for these, we call them like, I think, solar devices or solar collection devices. So like solar panels, but also clotheslines. So it was added to municipal zoning, and it also has this provision in Title 27, which is the property title. So 27 VSA 544 is also an existing statute about solar collectors. So no deed restrictions, covenants, or similar binding agreements running with the land. So this may include a subdivision. It may include a common interest community. it could be an HOA, although HOAs have separate statutes, but any binding agreement in a deed or similar document none of those shall prohibit or have the effect of prohibiting solar collectors, clotheslines, or other energy devices based on renewable resources from being installed, or for a portable solar energy generation device as defined in 201, appurtenant to buildings erected on the lots or parcels covered by the deed restrictions, covenants, or binding agreements. So I'll stop there for a second. So there's this existing provision that says deed restrictions cannot have the effect of prohibiting solar panels installed on buildings. And this is adding not only installed on a building, but also appurtenant to a building for portable solar energy generation devices. Pertinent to is a property law term, meaning near or adjacent to the building in question. Because portable solar can be placed on your deck.
Okay, this, you got right to my question.
Could be on the balcony. It could also be on your fence. And so it may not be directly attached to the building. You also can move them. So they're light enough that you want to move them around your yard or something, so the current statute is specifically installed on the building, and this is allowing for, because these are portable, they are maybe attached not to the building, but something else.
Interesting. Okay.
All right. So there's one small other thing at the end of this on page 4, at the bottom. So the legislative intent in enacting this section is to protect the public health, safety, and welfare by encouraging the development and use of renewable resources in order to conserve and protect the value of land, buildings, and resources by preventing measures that will have the ultimate effect, whether or not intended, of driving the costs of owning and operating commercial or residential property beyond the capacity of private owners to maintain. This section shall not apply to patio railings in condominiums, cooperatives, or apartments, except for portable solar energy generation for a portable solar energy generation device. So there's an exception in this existing provision that in condos, cooperatives, and apartments, they can regulate their patio railings. But again, portable solar may actually be hung on those, so they're exempted from that as well. So the sections 3 and 4 dictate things that the municipality can't do. And then 4 is about private deed restrictions. This is not about landlords and apartment buildings specifically.
Does that mean a landlord can prohibit tenants from hunting in portable solar if that landlord so chose?
Yes.
But not a co-op. But
Correct.
so if you have an interest in the property, some means it.
Yep. And effective date is July 1, 2026.
Sorry, so you can't have a deed restriction or like a covenant or an HOA thing on property that prohibits this.
Yeah.
But a landlord,
Yes.
so the key thing is whether you have a financial stake in the property.
I wouldn't say that, but if you have a deed or like an ownership, I don't know if it's financial, but
You have an ownership interest somehow.
yeah,
So there's nothing in the bill about rentals,
correct.
at all.
Correct. So I will say, big picture, this is a little bit or a lot different than a lot of the other energy bills that I work on because, and it took me a while to sort of figure out why. It's because these are sort of like appliances rather than energy generation facilities. They're more like an appliance. And so this is a different type of regulation than some of the other things you have looked at before.
Yeah, from Southbridge.
So this would be more toward homeowners rather than renters? The ability to do this?
Not necessarily. It leaves open the possibility that landlords can not allow these things because landlords do have the ability currently to say you can't like plug in I was gonna say
An arc welder.
yes, I was gonna say like an air hockey table, but like something bigger, like a larger appliance. Landlords do have that authority now to deny their tenants that, but it also leaves open that if it is a building and the landlord hasn't made any prohibition if a person would like to purchase and install one of these and connect it to their grid, they will be bound by this.
Propound.
I heard you say something about you can use it for your travel trailer, power your travel trailer. But
So if you're not going to connect it to your house, you're not bound by this statute. And so you are, I think, largely not bound by that.
But the same device, from your knowledge, could be used to power an independent, self-standing travel trailer.
Isn't that what I just said? What do you, I don't understand.
Well,
You mean connected to the house and then they plug in the trailer?
You think these will actually provide energy to a travel trailer if plugged in independently to a travel trailer?
I cannot speak to the specific ways that the technology can be used. So I don't know specifically that.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the manufacturers coming
Right,
in
but
and
there's
stuff, so.
that it's, yeah, just.
Oh my gosh, please don't ask me about AC versus DC and how they have convert.
No, I wasn't gonna,
I'm sure that there are people that can talk about in detail how some of this technology will work and how there are a lot of different configurations of the systems that already exist. My knowledge has a limit on some of this.
So getting back to this, the statutory language here. Right now, if I went out and bought one of these and brought it to my home to hook up, it's not clear, it's a gray area about whether maybe I could be required to get a CPG or maybe I could be required to get an interconnect agreement. And so the point of this bill is to clarify that those things will not be required for these units, right?
And actually I would alter that a little bit. These portable solar systems come in a number of different configurations.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the type of configuration you get, you may or may not trigger the need for one of those things. So this is being very clear about these technologies. If you're going to plug into your house and that building is connected to the grid, and it is a device that complies with UL, you don't need a CPG or an interconnection agreement. Most of these things, I think, probably wouldn't trigger the need for a CPG, but if you're connecting it to your house, if you're plugging it in your house and it's connected to the grid, you probably would need an interconnection agreement.
Okay.
And then that you may also need to amend your CPG if you have net metering. That's another part of the gray area is, can you do this if you already have net metering? It seems like you may need to amend your net metering CPG if you do. So yes, this is clarifying
What you don't have to do.
yes.
Get one of these.
Yes.
Okay, and then I have one more question. This may be a question just for our Senate colleagues, but it may be something that you weighed in on as well, so I'll go ahead and ask. The bill that I introduced on the House side had a path for making sure that the electric distribution companies were notified. And that's, I know that's gone now.
They don't want notification. They asked for it to not be included
Interesting.
because they think of them as appliances. So you should hear from them.
We
But
will, yeah,
That-
okay.
was their testimony is that it's like you having a new appliance. They don't need to know that.
Okay. Any more questions on the language of the bill as it came over from the Senate for Ellen?
I feel like there's a lot to learn about this.
Yeah, there is.
Do have a question.
Yeah,
Lines 12 and 13 on page 2. Prohibited electric company from requiring people who want to get a portable solar to install any additional controls or equipment beyond what is integrated in the device. There was some discussion earlier on this that they would require installation of a separate circuit in their home for these.
So that is contemplated under UL 3700. And so this provision on page 2 is specific to what the utilities can require. It may be required as part of the UL safety standards.
And maybe, but that safety standard has been issued, right?
Yes, and you should hear from someone other than me about it.
yeah.
And I think
They're
if
coming
I'm
tomorrow.
remembering correct, I'm sorry, I am dealing with 14 other bills right now. And so I think it is, I think there are different size categories under UL 3700. And so I think that may be for larger ones,
Okay,
but I
we will talk to them.
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
And-
that's clear.
We are, let's see, and I don't have it handy right now, but we have so far invited, and this is just for round 1, but we invited every witness the Senate heard from. So whatever was their witness list went to Alex, and Alex lined up all those folks. So that included UL, Bright Saver, which is a kind of, advocacy awareness raising group. We're hearing from a manufacturer, a company that makes these. That's new. I don't think the Senate heard from them. We're hearing from the IBEW. That was new. The Senate didn't hear from them. We're hearing from like VPIRG and some advocacy groups that are supporting this bill. We're hearing from DPS and the PUC.
Fire safety.
Fire and safety.
Can I just add, so some of the advocates that you will hear from on this are currently there's some engagement with UL about potential amendments to 3700. So that is also happening in the background.
Thank you.
Yeah, Rep. Southworth.
How recent were the testing and stuff with UL?
It just came out in
December.
because my first draft did not have that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you all saw, they're seeing bills pop up around the country, and they saw the H bill and the S bill that we had introduced, and they wrote to us, and I think that's already probably already posted on our page as testimony. And if not, they'll be submitting it tomorrow, but it said, hey, we're updating this standard, and you should include it by number, and that's why H 598, which is now outdated, went from just saying is certified by Underwriters Laboratories to saying complies with UL 3700. And I think maybe even that's been updated. So we'll hear from them tomorrow. Yeah.
If one has a number of questions that may already have been introduced in the Senate testimony, should one review the Senate testimony? Or
One should. Yeah, it would all be posted on the Senate.
right, and we don't have to repeat it here.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I think we need to do our own comprehensive exploration and take all of our own testimony, but anybody who wants to go back and look at all the testimony that was presented on the Senate side should do so for sure. All right. Any more questions for Ellen? Ellen, thank you.
Yes.
And I think we're going to be joined by Bright Safe at 3, so we can take a little break and go off live.